Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the set Plane Time with Ben Coleman. I'm your anchor host, Ben Coleman, for today, and we're here at the Orlando facilities, the studios of Lowry Satellite. But Florida Aviation Network is who brings this compelling show to you. And again, we would like to thank all the volunteers, even New York Dave, to help us put this on to you. And I tell you, the people don't realize what it takes to put these presentations together. It's formidable, and it's very, very much appreciated when you do go to the National Aviation Safety Foundation, that actually is the sponsor for Florida Aviation Network. Whew. All right, that's all the commercial I'm going to go for you today. But today is kind of a double header. We have a gentleman here that has some experience both with the Air Force and with the auxiliary, United States Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol, and dealing with some things that are dear to all of our hearts, and that's our youth in aviation. And without the youth in aviation, our industry is flat. It's going absolutely nowhere. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of old guys and gals in this business that are kind of running things right now, but we're going to be gone someday. And without that fresh blood coming into our industry, it's going to dry up. So when we come across, or if you see anybody that has gray hair or long teeth or earlobes are getting kind of low, thank them with the Civil Air Patrol, because they're helping pave the way for the future of aviation. With that being said, we're going to run 30 minutes, our first segment, then we're going to break, and then we're coming back for another 30 minutes, and then the wings credit code will be at the end of this complete segment 1 and segment 2. So don't run away after we kind of switch gears a little bit with our guest, and we're going to get into the Civil Air Patrol aspect in the first segment. The second segment is going to wind up being more space-oriented. We're going to get spacey on you. So I'd like to welcome officially Gary, Lieutenant Colonel Gary Dahlke.
You got it, Dahlke.
Dahlke.
That's the Americanization of it.
It's
a German name, but that's how you say it in the U.S.
Dahlke.
Dahlke.
Got it. And Gary, do you mind if I call you Gary?
Absolutely not. Go ahead.
Okay.
I prefer it.
Well, I already have,
Yeah,
so I guess I kind of screwed up there. So
we're good.
Well, Gary, I'm Ben, and Gary, we were talking a little bit earlier about what we're going to develop here. And the first segment, of course, is that of the Civil Air Patrol. And explain to us your involvement with the Civil Air Patrol and to what extent. And if you're here actually representing the national headquarters for the Civil Air Patrol, or if you're just here just telling us what your thoughts, wishes, and wants and desires are.
Well, I'll tell you, anytime CAP members go on camera with an interview such as this, we have to clear it through our public affairs. That just is common sense. And since what I'll be discussing today is a national activity that is operated by CAP, we ran this through our national headquarters just to give me permission to come on and discuss this. So in that sense, I can speak for my activity that I run through CAP, and then I'll also discuss some of the other aspects of the cadet program. So some of what I may offer may be my own personal opinion, but other aspects will be exactly what the official CAP policy will be.
Well, you just let me know when you're off into the tulips.
when I'm going off
you wander
tangent.
off into the tulips,
Yeah.
And I'll bring you back around here.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that if I
Right.
were you. But no, we'll
go with that.
And the big thing is we're here to share experience with our viewing audience, and to try and get them more learned or educated on just, some folks don't realize just how extensive Civil Air Patrol is and how vital of a role it plays in our aviation system. So please tell us, what do you know about the cadet program?
Well, the cadet program got me into Civil Air Patrol. And I'll briefly share that experience. I was asked to give a presentation to Civil Air Patrol cadets that were in Florida at a national activity. And the national activity program typically is a way that cadets can get experience in areas beyond what they would normally see in their individual units. And by the national activity means this is nationwide. These cadets come from all over the nation, go to various venues around the country for a set period of time, typically a week, to get in-depth experience on a specific aspect of aviation, of aeronautics, space even, and that just helps broaden their horizons and gives them some exposure. So I was asked to give a presentation some years back to a group of cadets that were in Florida. It was in the Cape Canaveral area for a space-related activity. And I was very impressed with the cadets that I saw when I walked in the room and proceeded with my presentation. And so much impressed to the point where afterwards I further inquired about the whole program, about Civil Air Patrol. I was on active duty for 8 years, and I knew just a little tiny bit about CAP, that it was something out there that we just never got involved in on active duty. So this was my first real experience with Civil Air Patrol, and it very much impressed me. So I inquired about joining, and within a few months I was a member of Civil Air Patrol.
You, sir, are what we call, you got hooked.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Line and sinker.
And that's a good thing, because without our seniors being involved in it, we're going nowhere. But talking a little bit about your 8 years of active service, that's, I've got to say it anyway. I said I wasn't going to say it, but you were a babysitter for parts for the ICBMs, Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles. You were a parts runner was the official word, but
right.
You were 18 years old.
Yes, I went on active duty right out of high school, and by the time I was completed all my training, I had turned 19. So I was a very young airman, put on some of the most powerful weapon systems that the United States has ever developed. And the Minuteman ballistic missile is still in service and in use today. We had 1,000 of them when I was on active duty. We're down to a little less than 400 now, but we still have somewhere around 400 Minuteman ballistic missiles ready to respond if our nation is ever attacked.
That's only if we could discuss how many we had, but that's top secret clearance, so we can't sell that we have 400 ICBMs.
Oh, no, the numbers are fine. The Air Force doesn't care that anybody knows. In fact, they want people to know. They want other nations to know how many ballistic missiles we have in our inventory. That's a deterrence.
And parts, since you had a clearance, you had to accompany these parts for installation, and you're armed, and you have to defend these parts.
Well, and that's a whole different tangent, but we didn't have to be armed when we were transporting. You were considered in a secure environment when you left the base, and a lot of times we would chopper them out because the sites are so remote. Driving would take all day to get the part out there, and if it was an urgent need, we would get on a helicopter and fly out to the site. When we got on site, there were armed guards on the site guarding and protecting it while we were performing maintenance activities.
Gary, I bring that up, and I mention this because at 18, you have to be, 18 or 19 or 20 to be a cadet with the Civil Air Patrol, don't you?
Well, no. You can be a Civil Air Patrol cadet at age 12.
Okay. And
you can enter the program, and you can stay in the cadet program up through your 21st birthday. And then when you turn 21, they kick you out. They offer you to come back in as an adult member, as a senior member, but you have to leave the cadet program at 21. But you've got a wide range of age that you can participate as a cadet.
Well, Melody and I both, we're still senior members, and we will always be proud supporters of the Civil Air Patrol, any way that we can do to help. But maintenance. You know, Plane Time is an aviation safety maintenance related show.
Okay.
And we do strive to get as many young people involved with maintenance as possible. And the Civil Air Patrol, I understand that there's a Textron facility out in Wichita that is kind of active in supporting the maintenance aspect.
That's a good point. National Cadet Special Activities, currently, if you go to the website, there are 50 of them listed. We have 50 cadet special activities for this coming summer. And all varieties of topics. Mine focuses on spaceflight, but there's a wide range from air search and rescue, FAA ground school, flight instruction, a wide variety. There is a maintenance and manufacturing focused activity in Wichita, Kansas at the Textron facility.
Yeah, well, Gary, I'm going to say I'm proud that they do that at Textron in Wichita, but we need more. I'd like to really see more activity, and I vow to get with our counterparts here at Maxwell Air Force Base, and let's pull this out because it is vital to the success of the industry, and I just can't tell you.
I'll tell you from my experience, CAP recognizes that. And again, that's my personal opinion, but that's what I've seen in my many years involvement with CAP. Now I'm just went over 20 years involvement with Civil Air Patrol, and that's been my experience as well. So yeah, they're aware of that, and that's part of why the cadet program exists. I mean, CAP does not intend or expect cadets to go into any specific field. It's just for them to get exposure to it, to spark their interest in it, to give them a chance to experience certain things with aviation, military, space flight, all those different areas. And if that interests them, then they've done their part. But if they choose to go in a totally different area, they can use the skills they've learned in the cadet program no matter where they go or no matter what career field they choose.
For someone, a youth that has an interest in doing military service, would it give them a leg up to be in the Civil Air Patrol?
Yeah, all right. So it does give them a leg up. And you have youth that at sometimes a very early age, they are focused on a military career. And Civil Air Patrol, if that's their choice, Civil Air Patrol is an excellent avenue to pursue. But at the same time, they're getting experience and training and leadership experience that will serve them no matter what career they choose.
Our previous guest, Gary, was air traffic control primarily, but he got his experience in a glider. And I know that the Civil Air Patrol has quite a few, I'm going to say hundreds of gliders in their fleet.
Yes, and we have national activities that focus on glider. So you, again, go down the list and look at that, and there's powered flight academies and there are glider academies all across the country throughout the summer.
And how many times have you been up in a glider, Gary?
0.
Oh, Gary, that's a wrong answer.
I am sorry, but you got to pick and choose, you know.
Would you like to go up in a Atlantic?
I have an astronaut friend who who loved gliders, and if he was the pilot, I'd jump on one of those. And to have an astronaut as your glider pilot, why not? You know, go ahead. But yeah, that interests me. I would give it a shot. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It's a completely different experience of not having the vibration
of
a motor.
You don't have the engine sound, right? I mean, it's like you're just flying on your own.
Just like a bird.
Yeah,
you're going to use that yaw string. You want to watch that for maintaining your coordinated flight. But
right.
But it's a lot of fun. You'd enjoy it. And
Noted.
it brings out the kid in you, and that's a bucket list thing that you should do. Tell us a little bit more about the Cape, and you live over in that vicinity.
I live in that
that's
area.
home.
I did 18 years on the shuttle program, so yes, I've got a lot of experience in the space flight arena. And prior to that, I worked on an Air Force launch vehicle called the Titan IV, and so my entire career, whether it's Air Force or civil service, or not civil service, but civilian work, has been in the space and missile business. And if it's not missiles, it was space and vice versa. So I've got my entire career in that area. So I've spent some time, a good chunk of my career in the Cape Canaveral area, working on different programs and different aspects of the shuttle program even.
So you've rubbed elbows with an awful lot of rocket scientists over there.
Yes, rocket scientists and astronauts. I mean, you can't help working in the industry. You can't help have encounter with astronauts. Who, as a kid, I idolized astronauts like other kids idolize sports legends. You know,
rock stars.
Rock stars, right? As a kid, I could name you every crew that flew on the Gemini mission because I followed every single mission. Same thing with the Apollo missions. I could tick off the name of every crew member that flew, what their position was, what the mission did. That's how much of a space geek I was into it. And as a kid, thinking there's got to be some way to get into this industry. And the path I took helped me get on that as well. And I have the Air Force to thank for that, for getting my foot in the door, taking someone with absolutely no experience, no training whatsoever, and say, if you've got the aptitude, we'll make it happen.
Wow.
And that's what got me on the path to a career in the space program.
So when we flippantly use the term, it's not rocket science, it is rocket science.
Right. Well, when it is rocket science, it is serious business.
And
I mean, it takes some effort to make those things go up.
And Gary, I don't know if it's this rocket thing in this space, it's really not going to go anywhere, is it?
Well, now you're segueing into segment 2. But what I do in the cadet program here in Florida is run a national activity that's absolutely focused on space flight. These cadets are literally immersed in the space program. It's not just taking a tour of the Kennedy Space Center. They go behind the scenes, they go in the processing areas, they get presentations by aerospace professionals that discuss what they do day to day, all the aspects of the space program. So once they're done with that, they've got a much clearer idea of what space flight is all about, beyond what they see on the news, what they read in the papers, or even what they read in books. They've got firsthand experience on that. And I've been involved with this particular activity for over 10 years now, and it's just amazing. I couldn't imagine a more rewarding program as an adult, seeing cadets, after they've completed it, say, I know exactly what I'm going to do when I graduate. It's amazing. And after experiencing that, they want to go right into the space program.
Gary, why wouldn't somebody that's young, and I'm going to say young, young for me is anybody under 30. But,
right.
But you know, some of our youth, 10, 15 years old, and they don't really know what they're interested in, but why in the world wouldn't they be interested in space and some of the opportunities that they have to get, and it really doesn't cost anything but time and effort. Maybe location could be a little bit of an issue. You have to get there, just like going to an airport and hanging on the fence to watch aircraft.
You got to make an effort, right?
You
right.
got to put the effort out there, and you're not going to, you might get it with a Game Boy or playing a game, a video game, but that's just going to wet the whistle. But you can be part of the video game when you get involved with space and some of the activities. But, and again, we're just kind of, just a little bit of breadcrumbs going for segment 2.
And this is the kind of good and the bad about it. We have 27 slots each summer for my particular activity. We have consistently over 200 cadets applying.
For 27 positions.
Right, for 27 slots.
Wow.
And so that just shows you how much intense interest there is in attending this and getting more involved in it. And some cadets will come, and it's just one of many opportunities they have during Civil Air Patrol. And they say, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll put it down as a passing
just a whimsical
thing. Right. So well, let's check it out. Let's see what it's like. And it's amazing that some of those are the ones who walk away from it and says, this is what I'm doing. Because they find out something that they just thought was kind of cool to see and to do. They get immersed in it, and this is so cool. I want to do this for a living.
Gary, let me wrap my head around this just a little bit. You mentioned that there's 27 slots, and this is over at the Cape, for cadet activities in the Civil Air Patrol.
Right. So you have to be a cadet, first of all, in order to apply, and then there are some additional requirements. We have an age requirement. You can be a cadet at age 12. In order to participate in this activity, you have to be at least age 14.
Okay.
And you go down the list of activities. There are some that are open to cadets any age. There are some that require additional years of experience in CAP before you can participate.
And for those 27 slots, you have roughly 200 applicants.
Right.
That's not many. I mean, I'm looking at what's our population in the United States?
Well, right.
Millions.
Right, hundreds of millions, right.
And again, aviation in itself is just a sliver of society. I don't know of anybody else in the world having a conversation like we're having right now on this particular subject. So it's a very, very esoteric activity that we're dealing with here. And unless someone is tuned in or pulls this up and learns about it, they wouldn't know.
You're right.
And
right.
so how are we going to expose this other than what we do here at the Florida Aviation Network and the Civil Air Patrol to get the word out of these opportunities? And let me add this, the Cape is not the only place. Huntsville, Alabama.
Right. Oh, yes.
Oh,
right.
my
There are
goodness,
places
all
all
the
over the
activity.
country. But this Central Florida, the Cape Canaveral area, is the main focus. You say Cape Canaveral to just about anybody, and the first thing that comes to mind is rocket science. You say Huntsville, Alabama, some people might pick up that there's a NASA center in Huntsville, a very important NASA center focused on propulsion of rockets. You say Houston, first word spoken from the surface of the moon. Houston, the Eagle has landed, Tranquility Base here. So there's maybe a connection there. But I think more than any other location on the planet, you say Cape Canaveral, you think of space.
Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Is another one, right? That's correct. And if you're in California, when you say Vandenberg, you instantly think of rocket launches because that's the West Coast launch site for both the military and for NASA.
Well, there's just so much positive aspects out there, and there's so much negativity in the world today. But we would like to focus more on the positive aspects of aviation and space, which aerospace is. I'll just share this with you. I'm on the board for the Professional Aviation Maintenance Association.
Okay.
There's a guy on the board that made a motion that we change it to Professional Aerospace Maintenance Association. I don't know who that would be. However, I vow that we will have that name, Professional Aerospace Maintenance Association. And part of our charter is to get people and youth involved in aviation and aerospace. Soon it's going to be more aerospace than aviation, because some of these old tankers we have running around, the World War II birds, every time we lose one, they're not coming back. So it's so important to see that you have the enthusiasm, the excitement to keep going, even at your young age.
Okay. I appreciate the kind words there.
And I can say that because you're a tyke. I've got you by a year.
Okay, right. There you
right,
go. So
but-
you're my senior.
Yeah,
You're
and
senior
so
to me.
and damn well you should understand that. So
All right.
that was a compliment.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
The Maxwell Air Force Base. What does Maxwell Air Force Base have to do with the Civil Air Patrol?
Well, it is where the national headquarters are located. So when I mentioned Maxwell, that's where national headquarters are for Civil Air Patrol. That's essentially where it is operated. And I think it's a great connection because we are an auxiliary of the Air Force, but we have a very close relationship with the Air Force. So many of the CAP members are former military, but that is not a prerequisite to joining CAP. Anybody who is interested and wants to work in any of the major missions of CAP, of which cadet programs is just one, aerospace education is another, and air search and rescue is another. Those are the three main elements of CAP's mission. All of that is run out of Maxwell Air Force Base.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Obi Young, the director and the purveyor of all this activity, is heavily involved with Civil Air Patrol as well.
Yes, indeed.
So all due respect to Lieutenant Colonel Young. But when somebody does go down in an aircraft and an ELT is picked up,
Okay.
who's out there looking for them? Is it the Sheriff's Department or the Police Department?
Well, I mean, if the crash is witnessed, you know where it is. That doesn't always happen.
That's a
plane
lot
goes
of-
down and you don't know where it is.
A lot of real estate out there.
ELT goes off. Air Force Rescue.
What is ELT? I'm sorry.
Emergency Locator Transmitter?
There you
okay,
go.
let's go with that. We'll go with that. Emergency Locator Transmitter, which is it's a standardization throughout the aviation industry that planes will have this device that will detect a crash and will automatically activate.
So
the pilot doesn't even have to activate it. If the force of the crash
at
will
9
activate
Gs,
it. Yeah,
you're gonna
set
set
it off. And then that sends out a signal the Air Force Rescue Coordination Center will then form up a request for Civil Air Patrol to go out and locate the downed aircraft. Civil Air Patrol does, I don't know what the percentage is, it's a major percentage of civilian aircraft, general aviation aircraft crashes in the United States. They're assigned to Civil Air Patrol to rescue.
It's a great majority, and also the humanitarian aspects. In the event of a devastating storm, Civil Air Patrol is involved with getting
in many
get
instances.
supplies and relief and so forth. There's just a whole lot that people can do to get involved with this industry, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. What it does cost is time.
Time, correct.
You got to dedicate the time, but if you can sit on the couch and play a video game for hours, come on. You can find some way to get to your local. Go. I had a nerve.
Yeah, you hit a nerve. Okay, great example of another national activity is Air Venture at Oshkosh. The activity is called Blue Beret, and these cadets are not just trained, they are there marshaling aircraft to make Oshkosh run as smooth as everybody in the business knows it does. And they're out there making it all happen. All of the ground activity, they're involved with a segment of all aspects of ground activity, I should say. And it's an activity that gets them the entire time that AirVenture is operating, and gives them direct exposure to ground operations, and more importantly, safety in ground operations. So another great activity that's cadets can take advantage of. And you get to spend a week at AirVenture. I mean, or more than a week at AirVenture. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Boy, I tell you, that's we've spent our time at AirVenture, and it can be a lot of work.
But it's also
very rewarding.
Very rewarding.
Only happens that only one place in the world. To that degree and capacity.
Yeah, I did bring some pictures along that if we have time, I want to at least share a couple of them. Do we have time to do that?
We're going to pull it up on segment 2.
Okay, we'll do. Are we coming to the end of this one?
We're dreadfully close to the end of this
all right.
one.
So let's save that for segment 2.
We will.
The audience will carry over, and we'll run some of those shots.
Gary, I'm not even going to shake your hand. I'm just going to say we're going to take a pause, and we're going to end this segment, but we will be back. And if you're not back,
you missed
we
something.
will know it. We'll know it, and we will keep our eye on you.
And you'll have missed something good if you don't come back.
Oh, the best part's coming up. Best part's coming up. We'll see you next segment.